So a request came in on the part 0 of Modular in a week, where the person wanted a really basic introduction on how to solder on a breadboard. And that came quite good in time, because I really need one more power supply. I filled up 2 with all my modules, and I need another one. So I'm going to solder another one, and with really close-up camera, so you can really see how I do it, to maybe get a feeling of how one possible way to do soldering on breadboard. On veroboard, I mean veroboard, of course. So I'm using this. It has just one. It just has pads that aren't connected in any way. So that is what I'm going to use. And here are most of the components that I'm going to need, except the LED and the resistor. Let's get that as well. So if you haven't already understood this, this is going to be a very long video, so bear that in mind, because I'm going to go through the steps really slowly to really try to show how it is possible to solder on veroboard, and how to lay things out. So this is the schematics of the power supply that I did in EDA, and it is kind of put in a way that so I can build this circuit along a veroboard like this, and that is what I've done in the other power supplies. So one thing to start with is to start with the jack. And let's see if I can make this small enough to get into the holes here. So first thing, because one of the poles of the input will be ground, so it's good to have a bit of space in between these two. And so this is what you do. You use the legs of whatever component you use to make the connections. So in this case we put them like this, and then we soldered them to the input pin, or the input solder pad that we put the cable through. Like so. The next component is a switch, which we are going to skip. We can either put a jumper or just skip that. I'm just going to turn the power on and off with a switch where the wall wart is connected. So the next one is the resistor and LED going from the what is now so far the positive to ground. So we add our resistor, and now we have a few pins here that we can choose. So I'm going to choose D, which is the furthest most away, and I'm not going to put them like that. What I usually do, I'm very conservative with space, so by doing like this with a resistor, we can stand it up like so, and then we can add the LED, and we can add that straight on the board, for example. So we add that in line there, and then we turn it over, and then we use the legs. So the leg that is on the same row, the red, where the red comes in, we bend so it goes along the edge and continues forward, and the other lead, the other lead, we bend towards the black one, and also towards where the LED will be. Now the LED fell out, so we put that back in, like so, and then we can, with the LED leg connected, that should be connected to the resistor, we can bend towards the resistor, and here again we can use the leg. Now we actually need to cut a bit here because we don't want these legs to go and touch the opposite pole of whatever. So there, those two legs, and that one we move along that ledge like so. And then we solder this together. There, so we soldered that one there and that one there, and now we have the other leg of the LED and the other leg of the resistor should be connected together, and we do that. And really making sure that there's no connection between that pad and that one. So yeah, we look really carefully, and if we are unsure, we scrape with a knife like this to make sure there's no connection at all there. And the same between those two pads, no connection is allowed. So I just pushed the strands a bit because it was a bit close. The strands from this cable was a bit thick just right here, so it was close, but no worries. All right, so we are done so far, and I like to cross out everything I've done. So we did that, and we did that, and we skipped that, so we're up here. So now we need two diodes, 1N4001. and 1. So the symbol for a diode, let's see, so you can see it is like this. And on the diode, on this one, there's a line here. So technically it looks like this, and there's a line, and that is the direction. So the line here is the line on the diode, so like so. So we take that, and so that diode should go that way, and we put that there maybe. And then we have that leg that we put, so we cut that leg right there, because we don't want it to go further than to that leg. And then we should have another leg, or another diode going the other way. And now it's important to see what's happening here, because the next part is the capacitor, these large ones. So there should be one between, there's supposed to be one from the end of this diode to ground, and then from the other one is on the other diode to ground. And that will be the plus and negative sides of the rail. So I press that lead down like so, and that one, the lead on that side, I push forward again, so that one continues forward. And we solder that in place first. Like so. So I'm waiting with this LED for this diode for a while, and let's concentrate on this capacitor here. So this one goes from the positive side to ground, and you see it goes over this line here, but there's no dot. That means it should not be connected here. So only there and there. And this one is the black line that we have the LED right here somewhere. So, and we should have this from plus, and on these you have minus, minus, minus. That's the short leg, and the long leg is positive. So this should go from positive on the plus side to ground. And we can actually put that there. We can even put it there. That way the lead we did here with from the LED, the lead from the LED, we can push that like so, and we have contact with that. I'm just going to focus a bit here. So that means we are there, and then we should again take what is now the ground pin of that capacitor and move that along so this line continues. And this lead that should be connected to the diode, we bend to the diode, like so. And we can cut that. And we solder. So that means that that connection and that connection is done, and that part is done. So now we need the other diode, and now we can actually, that one is going to go to another one of these, and then to the, so here's the 7812 and the 7912, so the positive and negative power regulators. So we can actually, instead of doing it tight like that, we can make it a bit longer, and we can go from up here down here, and then we can continue, so that in the end we will have plus, ground, negative, which is a good way of keeping it tidy when we connect our modules later on. And now the line on the diode should go up. So now we can cut that one, and we can actually cut this one before we solder that. And then we have that one, so we start our negative rail going that way as well. And then we solder that one. Soldering without ventilation is not to recommend, but because I talk all the time, I can't have that going, I feel. Right. I'm just gonna add some solder here as well. Alright, so the next module is the second 470 microfarad, and that should go, because now we are talking about the negative rail, so that should be the positive side. The long leg should be on the ground side. So we have there, can actually, let's see how much we can push this together, like so. And we have that leg, that's the negative rail, we continue that way, and this is ground, and we need to go up because ground is up there. And we can even do this. So we have positive on ground and negative to negative. Oh, that's wrong. So now the next component is the second 470 microfarad capacitor, and the plus side should be on the negative side and the negative should be on ground. And we find that so the negative rail is here and ground is in the middle, so we find a place there maybe. Yep. And we connect the legs, and we can bend this, continue that rail, and we can continue that rail. And then we can solder. So negative, negative, no, it was right. I'm thinking wrong. So mistakes happen, of course, and I was thinking wrong, and now I have to pay for that. And when you bend leads, the downside is it's much harder to fix. A solder suction thingy is good to have. Alright, so things can happen. So I soldered this the wrong way, and when I removed it, what happened is the solder pad got stuck. That happens. Just have to do that, I guess. And I think that one is toast. So let's try this again. So the positive side should be to ground, and the negative to negative. Right, so now it's correct. So we bend that way, and we bend that way. We try to connect these. Alright, so here's no solder pad anymore, but we can still solder to the two leads together from the ground, from the previous capacitor to the new capacitor. So connect them together like so. and then the other leg there was still a solder pad, and the leg from the diode that goes along the side there. Okay, so now that one done, that one is done, that one and that one. So we have come to our first voltage regulator, the LM7812 or L7812, and so on the positive rail up here it should be on pin 1, 2, 3, that's how we count, 1, 2, 3, so 1 should be connected to the diode over there, and the middle pin to ground, that's easy, and the third pin to continue to the output. So we just put that there, could be a nice spot for that. So what's here is we have quite a long lead here, which we cut like so, so it just gets to the first leg, and that's all we need there, so we can actually solder that in place. And we can cut that. That means that one is done. The where's correct? Yes. The middle pin should be connected to ground, so we try to get that to ground. We might need to, so here we have that pin from the capacitor, and we can bend that to connect like so, and we can continue that way like so. That's a nice compromise, I think, and that is all the connections that should have, so we can connect that. Right, and finally the output should go to a capacitor that goes to ground, and that should be the 1 microfarad 30 volts. We have 1 microfarad 50 volts, that's good enough, and we put that fairly close, I think. Let's see if we can bend this leg that way, because this doesn't look as if it's supposed to be able to do that. But it was possible anyway. Great. So, positive to ground. Positive is the long leg, like so. And ground was quite close, yes, because we did that thingy. There, and then we finally we do like so, so we get all the way out to the other edge. So let's wait with this crossing here, because I want to know where we should go with the negative rail. So that one is done, that one is done, that one, and that one. So the positive side is done now. We can actually just add a few headers here to get positive voltage out of this one. So we need the pin out for the 7912. That's not the same as the 7812. So the 79 is pin 1 is ground, pin 2 is in, and pin 3 is out. And that is good because down here we can, let's see, what can we do? We can put it like so. Maybe there. And we can have inputs. So here we have a lead that we can use for the input. And so we take that to the middle pin, like so. And then ground, we have this lead here, which was ground, which we didn't solder there. We can solder that, and then we solder it to there, and we have ground. Let's see, that was number 1, right? Yes, and pin number 3. So this one continues that way and is the output. So we soldered this together then. So now we have that one that we need to connect. Solder these two together, and that is done. And then we That means we're done with that one, and input, ground, out, done. So, one more component, and that is the last cap. So, plus side to ground, and that should be something like so. That one to ground, and we bend this one like so. So we're ready to connect headers over here, and this one for the positive headers. No, sorry, negative headers. It's very important to keep track of when that left is right and right is left when you flip it around. I have a very hard time with that. And over here. And if everything is correct now, this is done actually. So before we add the headers, let's find a suitable power supply and connect this and check the power. It's always good to check so everything is as it should be. But while doing veroboards, this is how, one of the ways, I guess many people have different ways of doing this, but I do this. I try to use the leads available as often as possible and just use wires when this is not an option, yeah. Okay, so I hope this worked good enough. So let's plug this in and see what happens. It's always interesting to see what happens when you do this. 1, 2, 3. So nothing blew up in our face. That's nice. That's a good first step of any circuit, really. So now we take out this one. And we flip this around. So here we have, let's see, plus, ground, minus. So we put this on 20 volts, DC, I might add. 20 volt DC. And we turn the power back on, and still nothing blows up, and we check over these two pins. Minus 12 volts. And over these two pins, plus 12 volts. And then we go to 200 and we check between the outer pins, the plus and minus rails, so that should be 24, and it is. Very nice. So that means that we actually made it. We managed to, or I mean me in this case, I managed to solder this correctly the first time. That does of course not always happen, and when it doesn't, one of the good things with veroboard is that you can quite easily follow along the schematics and the traces, the leads that you have done, so you can make sure that everything is correct. Right, so it works. So there's one thing left to do, and that is putting headers on. And if you wanted to use this with a Eurorack, you could put Eurorack connectors here. I'm just going to put a few rows of pins on plus, ground and minus, and then just connect my DuPont cable. So I have 3 cables like so, with the plus, minus and ground, and that is going to all my modules in my modular. So the final step in this build is to add these blocks of 8 pins to the outputs, so we get 8 plus out and 8 minus out, and no, ground and 8 minus. So plus, ground, minus, and we can connect 8 modules to this one. So we just need to use the wires that we already have to connect them, and we can also use the legs that is left from the components that we cut the legs off. We can use those as well. So let's finish this one then. So we just want to connect these together, so we can just add the legs like this, and then just add loads and loads of solder. Now that should be all those pins connected. So then we continue to the next one. And yeah, that is the correct spacing. There's something to hold it in place while we find some things to add as filler to connect it all. So here's a leg from one of the power regulators, thick and good for this purpose, I think. And there everyone is connected to ground, and then the last one, so this is plus right now. First just make sure it stays in place with one like that, and then we can add one. And now that is done as well. So now we can put this into our modular and make sure that it really works, even in conjunction with other modules. So I hope this makes it a bit more clear how to solder veroboard and how you should go about doing this in this project and in other projects that you wish to do a small prototype or a small series of. So, until next time, take care, bye.